Okay, I have some very exciting ideas that I now need to again share with you with this excellent software that's now developing into even more powerful software. So you have your artboards, and your artboards allow you to have lots of different documents, and this application allows you to edit the data and link the data together. But the artboard themselves are essentially linkable. So what you have is the ability to look at your artboards and link your artboards and assets together. So you can say that this paragraph of text right here links to another artboard, and that you can link different parts of your application to, let's say, a query string. But you are allowed to write notes on this screen, so you can just very quickly draw some notes or add some text. You're allowed some very interesting assets that allow you to basically make whatever you'd like. And then also you have previewed icons, and again you can go in, click on them and edit them. But it's a nice way to represent your data as art flow, and that's what I'm calling it, art flow. We've got artboards, and then the flow and the connectivity of the artboards is through art flow. And the really special and unique thing about having art flow is user stories. We all know that when we're in the creative space, we like making user stories. Well, this is a great way to make user stories. It's a great way to be creative with it as well, because user stories can now have essentially any type of data, like a database, Excel spreadsheet, or even code and slides. Now, there is another revolution in my ideas for artboards themselves. So artboards, as we know, they can contain web components, they contain text and wrappable text, they contain audio, they contain database, Excel, video, and even code from a canvas. You can even include a VR canvas in this, where people are connected over a VR canvas. But what's really special about this idea is the fact that you can actually build out a responsive canvas. As these artboards are so adaptable, for example, you may want to show the document, for example, as a written document, like so, or you may want to show them as a slideshow and a presentation. So ideally, these artboards need to be a little bit more representative of the flow of data, meaning if I can take this artboard and put it into many different mediums, then it has to be able to adapt itself to those mediums. So even if I was to scale right down, you will notice at one point it will change into this. So I've changed the layout of my artboard. So artboards are now dynamic. So they scale like so. They scale in and out, and they're responsive, and you can control them at certain breakpoints and have things scale down. That allows you to actually export web components that are responsive, and it allows designers to get more of a feel of how to create web components and components of such nature. And it allows people to sort of learn development as they go, because sometimes designers make desktop designs and they don't necessarily piece together how the mobile side of things works. So what this will allow them to do is just work with one canvas, one artboard, rather than multiple artboards to do responsive design. And also you can have maximum height on this, for example, as well. The responsiveness is to do with width and height. So just like CSS media queries. And if the height is so small, then you can have it display in a certain way where you can make it a slide. So this is now more adaptable, where you can have it display as a Word document, or you could have it display as a slide, or you could have it display as, well, anything you like. And because of its responsiveness, it can fit to within the constraints of what you're trying to place the medium in, making it completely and utterly the most flexible thing I've ever seen in my entire life. So there it is. You now have user stories with your artboards and connectivity, and also with your artboards you can have linkable things. So obviously when it comes to database, you go off to, the database view and so forth, but you can see here that if I go back to my artboard, if I click on this right here, it will actually take me to another artboard. So artboards can link in other artboards. It's just the same thing, but a bit smaller. But you can imagine that this is a different screen, for example, and it will go through the art flow. So this paragraph of text links to this artboard, for example, and you can literally click it inside of the environment where you are, and it will show you the other artboard. It will animate that in and allow you to view the other artboard. And excuse the terrible hotspotting there. It's only a very basic prototype, but these ideas must be released before they are able to even patent these ideas. These ideas should be open for all of us. This is why I created this application, is for sharing and ultimately collaborating and all of us making money. Now, the other idea that I have, which I wrote down and I must not forget because I always do that, is the fact that your artboards do have what is called administrator privileges, and also, you know, because your document here contains a lot of files and a lot of information. And sometimes you don't want to share all that information. You know, the document is live and connected. Many people can connect to the same document. You can all edit even the same artboard or information at the same time. So you could all be in a database, you could all be in an audio file, and you can all edit and collaborate together in that one section. But there is a very big and very important side to what we're doing here, which is limiting who sees what, because not everybody needs to see, for example, audio. The audio guys need to see that, but not everybody needs to see that under the document. So we are going to basically have it where your name or your privilege access will be set when you click on one of these artboards. The options will come up in the, obviously, the properties inspector, this very, very important window, and it's reactive to what you click. And it will basically allow you to set and define permissions for each individual artboard. Typically, by default, they will be allowed by everybody. But if you'd like to lock that artboard down and you don't want people to see the artboard whilst you're developing it, or maybe you just don't want people to see it, then it is allowed, because a document is essentially a database full of artboards, and artboards connect and then are embeddable in other artboards. So all the mediums are flexible, and now it's got one step more flexible with the idea of allowing a sort of artboard that is responsive. So as we know, the artboard can go into many different parts of the application, and it kind of needs to be responsive. It's not like editing data in a database. We want the data to be sort of visible to the user in that sense. But don't forget that if you were to, let's say, target the slides and presentations, that's where you see things go a little bit different. But what's interesting about this is that you can actually attach other files, such as audio files, and you can have audio files playing inside of here. You can have code projects, Excel spreadsheets in a slideshow, and that Excel spreadsheet will become live and active in the slideshow. Again, this hasn't been done because the connectivity between most applications is so segregated. So when we look at this, what you can have is an Excel spreadsheet that shows up and is interactive, or a database. And data visualization, most importantly, we will have data graphs, just like we have here in the Art Canvas. You can have the flat data, you know, displayed as a spreadsheet type format in a table format and selectable in the slideshow. Or in the slideshow, you will again have the ability to have, you know, graphs and charts and data visualization, and even what we will do is allow for data visualization inside of the canvas. So if you wanted to allow people to walk through your database in a virtual reality, they could literally do that, and they could look at the data and the tables, and also you can embed database and Excel data inside of this particular canvas, and people can just literally walk through it and enjoy, you know, data again. Like, data's fun now. Our database administrators can literally walk through the database, and they can even look at hotspots of the database map, so they could see when things are really being accessed heavily, and they have some sort of visual representation of what's going on with the data and the interactivity with the data. This is just an unlimited idea. There is no end to what we can do with this, but this is also a very dangerous idea in the fact that there are companies out there who will lock us out of our own idea and ultimately try to muscle us out with big patent lawyers and threats and suing. And I think that it's a real shame that software has come to this point where we have to literally defend ourselves in courts all around the world because big business decides that it wants to muscle its way in software. I think that we're going to be a lot better off without all of this muscling in of software vendors and big parties, and just enjoy software again. And this is why this idea has to go out. So please remember, you heard it here first, and we mustn't let the big corporations take this idea off us. They've had too many good ideas off me and other developers that it's now time for the developers to make money and to share collaboratively in one piece of software. It's simply unlimited.